Okay, so here we are with the way it ends, and now I think a lot of people would agree with me when I say that this is probably the most path-based song in the first pool, at least. Like, there are a lot of double FCs of this song because it's not too difficult, and as a result, you needed to have a good path to stand a good chance of winning. So yeah, path heavy. Now, luckily the first act is pretty easy. You will get full bar if you whammy these sustains. There's three phrases, all of them have a lot of whammy, so there's really no risk of not getting full bar here. And you see it's telling you to activate on this red. If you really want to, you can try and squeeze that note in, but I opted to just forget about it and just activate on the chord. Just a little squeeze like this can make a difference on this song, but this is one of the main reasons I banned it, actually. I banned it against all but one person, because, you know, I just wanted to play it safe with the path. So yeah, just activate on this chord, it's pretty easy. And you don't want to leave anything too late, because obviously if you leave it too late, you'll end up overlapping here, and this is not something you want to do. So yeah, these are 4 tap notes, just activate on this drum. Pretty easy. No squeezing though. And then the second activation, once again I changed the position of it. I went immediately after this sustain here. Now it does make a difference. I didn't think it made a difference until looking a bit closer. You see you act here and you get an extra 3-note chord, as opposed to acting here it'll end somewhere in these red strums or thereabouts. So yeah, you can squeeze an extra chord in there, but I just opted to go the easy route and went for this 3-note chord here. And there we go. 2 acts, nothing too bad so far. Now the third act is maybe the most interesting act in the song. Once again, you want to be whamming after strumming. Not too easy, but it's not too bad either. The strumming isn't too fast. But yeah, the third act, you want to get 3 phrases, and then you act. It's telling you to act here, but I acted on this this chord on the measure here. Once again, acting on the measure for convenience, just easier to remember. And yeah, it'll be the 4th green-orange of what is, I think, the last cycle of the second verse. And you get an overlap here. So it not only does it make the overlap easier activating on this chord, it also makes it more guaranteed that you're going to end up hitting this 3-note chord. Apparently it is a squeeze on this first note, so apparently it's not a squeeze if you activate 1 note before, but you know what I mean. It is probably possible if you activated on this second green here to miss the 3-note chord. So yeah, just 3 guaranteed points. You might get a few extra ticks, but I think it's fair enough. You aren't sacrificing too many points. You're sacrificing, what, 400 points at most? Most of the time it's not going to come down to 400 points. But yeah, that third act, probably the most difficult to remember. But yeah, if you just remember it, it's the end of the second verse, and it's the 4th green-orange. So yeah, that's that act. The next act is not quite immediate, and it's convenient enough where it follows these hammer-ons here. So this yellow is a strum, but these 2 notes here are hammer-ons, so you can have a little bit of time to, at least I can have a little bit of time, because I use the Explorer of course, to move my finger down more comfortably to activate on this next note. So that's immediately following these hammer-ons, pretty close to after this star power phrase. And yeah, and this is a pretty difficult whammy afterwards. I generally didn't opted to not try and whammy this sustain, because you don't get that many points, and the next activation isn't actually worth that many points anyway. So yeah, don't have to whammy this thing. But obviously you don't want to overstrum here, and there is a significant tempo drop, so you do not want to screw up. So 185 to 161. But yeah, the activation afterwards is really easy. It's literally the start of the chugging section. There really isn't anything hard to remember about it. So yeah, just activate there. Pretty simple. Then we have the solo activation. So this one can go wrong if you don't activate at the right time. It says to activate on this blue. I think I went for the second blue instead. Probably at the cost of, again, like 200 points. But you do not want to do this one too late, because you can see the phrase ends here. It doesn't end at the next measure, it ends here. So if you do it too late, say activate right here where the fast pass starts, you're probably going to overlap, and you definitely don't want to do that because it's just sustains pretty much. No value there. And if you end up getting this and then hold off till the till here, you might end up having like too much star power. I think you can get, because you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and with the whammy you would be wasting whammy there. So yeah, you definitely do not want to overlap this phrase. So yeah, on this blue, I think both of these are hammer-ons maybe. If this one's a strum, it makes more sense as to why I acted on it. But it doesn't really matter. I think this one's going up, which makes it a bit easier than going down for me when activating. Just little things like that. So yeah, the solo activation. Do not overlap. And then the final activation, you'll get a lot of whammy, and you'll have... I guess actually, if you do overlap... how does this work again? If you do overlap, it screws you up, and you still get full bar. But if you don't overlap, you'll get full bar. Right? No, you won't get full bar if you overlap. That's how it works. Okay. Now I'm back where I should be. So you'll be, you don't actually need to whammy these because you'll be on, as I said, there's 4 phrases. And this final act is the same as that act in the bridge earlier, where it follows these hammer-ons. So yeah, it's literally the same act, except it's not immediately following a phrase, but it's the same position in the bridge. The very first one, and you'll overlap here, and you'll try and squeeze in this last chord, I guess. So yeah, that is the path for this song, and it is an important path, because as I say, this song isn't too difficult to FC, and it does come down to pathing, if you were to pick it. And it's a bit annoying because it's a lot of activating while strumming, so you can be prone to missing because you're activating, which is part of the reason why I didn't really ever want to pick it. In fact, I only ever picked it because I wanted to try and FC every Pool 1 song in a match. So yeah, I just avoided this one at all costs if you get consistent at the rest of the songs. And that was sort of a rule I went for. If I can get consistent at everything else, I'll just ban the easiest song to make it harder for the opponent, which I think ended up being a pretty solid strategy. But yeah, you can see the score it tells us here, 629. I generally ended up in the mid 620s, maybe 626 was my best score, I think. I know Chris Chaik, he hit 628k in a tournament, which I think is pretty ridiculous. You know, you gotta go for some risky squeezes to get 628. But yeah, mid 620s. You don't want to be hitting really anything lower than 624 with a path like this. But yeah, that is the path for this song. The longest explanation so far, no surprise. We'll head to the notes now, which is actually going to be a lot shorter than usual, thank goodness. Okay, so now we'll take a look at the notes for the way it ends. Now there isn't going to be too much to talk about, so a lot of this is going to be strum semantics. There's one part of the song I will look at closely in terms of the notes. You already know which part that is, the first part in the solo. But yeah, before we do anything else, we'll talk about like the main question here, which is, should you use straight alt strumming or use reset strumming? So, and the answer for me is I use a mix of both because I'm activating in the strumming. If I wasn't activating, I would just use straight up alt strumming. This is because it conserves stamina and it avoids overstrums as well. But when you're activating, it's kind of hard because to just keep straight alt strumming, because it might end up an activation ends up on an up strum, which is it's really awkward to do that. And you always want to be activating on a down strum. So if it was coming close to an activation, I would start reset strumming, and then once the activation is done, you can just go straight back to alt strumming. And that's basically the gist of the song. I don't think many people had too many issues with like stamina, because everyone knows this song has been on since GH3, and you know it's no longer that much of a test of stamina as it might be when you're starting out. So yeah, that's how I would tackle the strumming of this song. So if you were to just use alt strumming, so every I guess if you use straight alt strumming, every single measure you'll start off on a different strum. So you start off on a down, then you'll be on an up in the next measure, then you'll be on a down in the measure after. So basically when the chord changes, you'll be on a down strum. I guess there's one other thing, which is the tempo changes of this song. So this song like varies in tempo a whole lot. The best thing you can do really here is just pay attention. If it looks like you're about to fall behind, just quickly speed up, and if it looks like you're going too fast, obviously slow down. But also just look at how close together the notes are. You can generally detect the tempo changes, and as long as you know where the biggest ones are, i.e. the one right before it goes quiet, which is the biggest tempo change, and I guess right before the very end it speeds up, I think, like quite dramatically. If you know that, you can prepare for it and it won't be a problem. Otherwise you can probably just cheese through it. If you get the tempo wrong, it's going to be alright. Just the big ones you really need to know about. And I guess one more thing before we do anything else, just positions for the pre-chorus section. Stay in first position here, and then go up. And the only reason for that is just because it's a lot easier to just change to the index rather than slide down and then do a chord when it goes down. At least it is for me. And then obviously it goes back up, so go up to second position. Just a little thing there, nothing too inventive or that noteworthy, but I thought I'd mention it anyway. So the only real hard part of this song is this guitar solo here. And we'll go from a... Oh, for goodness sake. I do that so often. I'll hit the red note and then we'll set the section. Okay. So I'll just play it first. And that's it. It's just that little 1 second. So it's, I think, a little bit trickier than it was on GH3. The way I would tackle this generally is just look at where the strums are and look at how many strums there are. And if you count, you'll see it goes 1, 3, 3, 1, 1, 2. Alright, it goes 1, 3, 3, 1, 1, 1, sorry. And then a 2 after. So if you remember that it's 3, there's 2 3s in a row, and then it's just 1s. And then that last 2 is sort of not even part of it really. Then it just becomes a lot easier if you just remember how many strums there are. You don't really need to think about the notes themselves. And you can hear the rhythm there. Something like that. I'm missing this green for some reason, but that's just a slide down. Just that rhythm, that's all you need to remember. And it's not that big of a problem, to be honest. It's just a typical shredding thing. It's just because it's the most noteworthy part of the solo, really. If that was like hidden within Rise with the Angels or something, you wouldn't turn any heads. So yeah, that's really all I have to say about the notes in this song. It's just basically making sure you have your strums sorted out and knowing about this one part in the solo. But besides that, it's pretty free. Just hit the notes. There's nothing crazy going on. So we'll just go on to the run now. So there you go, the way it ends. I got a mid 625. That's about what I was saying. About as mid 620s as you can get. But yeah, so I didn't really have too much to say about this one, but hopefully, you know, something was of interest there. The next song is I'm a Nat 115, and that should be an interesting one, more interesting than this. So yeah, I'll see you on that one.